Good evening. Welcome to this evening's TI Technology webinar, hosted by Texas Instruments, where we will take a look at how to incorporate TI-84 plus CE technology in the inclusion classroom. I see that many of you are joining in for the first time, so we'd like to offer a special welcome if this is your first T3 professional development webinar. We'd also like to thank everyone for completing the live survey on the right side of your screen. If you have been joining us, you notice that I am not Mike Houston. Mike is taking time off to spend with his family. My name is Stacy Thibodeau. I will be the moderator for this evening. I have been in a science classroom for over 20 years. I currently teach at Southside High School in Youngsville, Louisiana, where I teach all levels of Chemistry 1 and 2. And I am so excited to get to teach an Introduction to Robotics class this year. I use TI technology to assist my teaching, data collections, and modeling math concepts, linking them to science content, as well as using the TI Innovator Hub for robotics. And we are lucky tonight to have two amazing presenters. I'm happy to introduce our panelists, Holly Terrell and Naomi Koskin. Holly has been a T3 regional instructor for the last 13 years. For 17 years, she has taught high school special education in northern New Jersey. Currently, she is teaching Algebra 2 and Geometry in a co-teaching model and pre-algebra in a resource pull-out class. Holly mainly uses the TI-84 with all levels of her special education classes. Thanks for being with us tonight, Holly.
Happy to be here for my first webinar.
We also have Naomi Koskin. She is a National Board Certified Teacher, a T3 National Instructor, and has a master's degree in secondary math education. She has been teaching for 28 years with the Los Angeles Unified School District. Most of her teaching experience has been at the high school level until last year, where she accepted a new challenge teaching 7th graders at a middle school where she specializes in co-teaching with an RSP teacher. Naomi is also an adjunct professor at Pierce Community College, where she mainly teaches statistics. Naomi has been an instructor for Texas Instruments since 2002. Thank you also for being with us tonight, Naomi.
Oh, thank you for having me, and I apologize also. It's my first webinar on this side.
If you have a question, because we're expecting a large crowd, your audio will be muted, but please feel free to send questions to all panelists using the Q&A window on the right side of your screen. We will also send general messages in the chat window. This session is being recorded, and as a reminder, we will provide a link to this event's certificate of attendance at the conclusion of the webinar. Once the recording is available, if you would like to follow along with your handheld or software, and we hope that you will, we recommend doing this with the recording so you can download the activities and pause and rewind as necessary. We don't expect that you'll have any audio issues tonight, but in the event that you do, try selecting Communicate in the WebEx menu, Audio Broadcast, and then click Join. So I'm going to go ahead and let Holly go over the agenda for tonight.
All right, so today we're hoping to cover welcome introductions, which we've already done. My name's Holly Terrell and Naomi Koskin. We're on opposite sides of the U.S., so we're coming to you from all areas of the U.S. We are going to talk about the features of the TI SmartView, the CE version. I will highlight just the regular TI-84 version as well. We're going to explore some 84 apps. I believe all the ones we're doing come preloaded, but if they don't, I'm going to show you on the website, on the TI website, where you can download them should you need them. We're going to highlight MathPrint and why that's beneficial to kids with special needs. Go over the benefits of color and why that could be helpful, and then compare that to what it's like in black and white. And since we're all in a new world now, we're going to highlight on going virtual.
All right, thank you, Holly. And Naomi, if you want to go over the expected outcome.
So we're hoping that by the end of this session, you'll be able to answer these questions. You can use these statements using TI the Smart View to present new material using a multi-sensory approach to meet a variety of learning styles. Use the probability simulation app to demonstrate and explore probability in a virtual or in-person classroom for all types of learners. And explore and use activities that are available on education.ti.com to find lessons that take everyday concepts and make them appealing to a variety of learners.
Awesome. I'm really excited to see the I can statements, that we know this is going to be student-centered and getting ready for back to school for some of us, maybe have started, and seeing how we can use this technology in our classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Holly. And Holly, you can share your screen now.
Okay. Like Stacy said, my name is Holly Terrell. I am a special education teacher, and the way that we generally do it where I am is we like to take the regular curriculum and modify it, you know, to fit the needs of the kids that we have. So now I'm sharing my screen, and the first thing I want to do is go to the education.ti.com website. Up here you see the address, education.ti.com. It's accessible to everybody, so feel free to use it, explore it. There's lots of great stuff there. If you see here on the home page, there's a new tab. Hopefully you can see where my cursor is. It says Distance Learning Resources. If you click on that, it's going to take you to this site here. You click Get Support. And one of the things that we're going to be using tonight is the TI-84 Smart View. So if I scroll down a little bit here, you'll see the TI-84 Smart View plus emulator trial for teachers right here on the right. There's a 90-day trial. So if you don't have the TI Smart View in your classroom and you'd like to try it, the Texas Instruments does allow you to use that for free for the next 3 months. So you can download that, install that on your computer, and do the same thing we're going to do tonight. It's a full version, so it's not like it's a modified piece. You'll get full access to all 3 84s that we have. And we go down a little bit further on that same page. There's the Chromebook Notebook Computer Solutions over here on the left side. I know a lot of schools are one-to-one. My school is one-to-one with the Chromebook. So we did use the beta version, which is the trial version of the TI-84 on the Chromebook. So if you click on this link here to apply for your free trial, they'll send the information to your tech department, and then you'll be able to get them on your Chromebooks. So if the kids are not coming in the classroom and you still want to use the TI technology, you have a whole year free. So I would definitely take advantage of that if you have a Chromebook. It will not work on anything else besides a Chromebook, because my daughter has a Chromebook, so we've used it on hers. But if I try to install it on this one, it won't work. I'm not on a Chromebook. So I just wanted to go over those so you know where they are. They're free for now, so definitely get on that. Then back up on that same home page, you'll see there's a button here that says Activities. And you go to All Classroom Activities. And many people, for whatever reason, don't know that this is here. So I always like to try to highlight it. And there's a section here that says 84 Activity Central. If you click on that, it's going to take you to a list of different topics. So I'm going to click Algebra 1. And you get all these different things pop up. Pick one of the categories. And there's some activities here that are preloaded, already created, already tried out. All the files you need are right there. So if you're looking for something, modify, something that has worked in a regular classroom, and it has all the steps for you. So let's just say we pick this one. It says You Are What You Eat. If I click on that, it opens up my the activity. It gives you a sample here of the overview, goes over some key steps, and then on the right side here are all the files. So if any calculus files, they would be there. There's a student doc, there's a PDF, and you can modify it to meet any needs that you have. So here's a sampling of it. It'll give you step-by-step instructions. You can print these out, you can use them, you can cut them up, you know, whatever you need to do with them, they're there for you. I always like to highlight this because not everybody knows that it's there. It's free to you. There's tons of activities. You can feel free to use them however you want, as long as, you know, it's in the classroom. And you can do some of these digitally, you know, over the virtual screen, because in many of the platforms that they have out there, you can share your screen, like I'm doing right now. So if you're in the Smart View, which is this, you can put it up for the kids to watch, just like you were in the classroom. And if they have their Chromebooks or if they have a handheld, they can follow along and do the same thing you're doing. So that's that. All right, this is a TI-84 Smart View emulator. Many of you probably have it, some of you may not. In my classroom, I have the TI-84 Plus CE, but if you look over here, there's a calculator. If I click on that, it gives me 3 choices. So if you have one of these other versions, you can still use that. So I know we do have in my school some 84 Pluses, which are the older ones. If I click on that, it'll change it to look like, you know, the same screen that they had on the 84. It looks very antiquated now compared to the CE, but many schools still have it, so you can still use the Smart View, which is great. Because when we work with special ed kids, they need to have something that looks just like what they have. So they can follow along and click the same way, and they're not good at, I found, at least with my students, they're not good at, you know, getting an approximate of what it should look like. They do better when it's exact. So you pick whichever calculators you have. If you have more than one, you can do it more than once. But I'm going to stick with the CE for this one because that's the most, the newest one, and that's the one that generally I find when I do these sessions in person, the people say that they have. So here's the home screen. I have a nice big faceplate right here. All of my keys for my calculator are here on the left-hand side. If you don't like them on the left-hand side, you can switch them to the right-hand side, if you prefer. I like mine on the left-hand side, but that's, again, up to you. There's some options here on the top. This one here with the big arrow. If you don't know what they do, if you pause for a second, you can see the options pop up. So I can have just the handheld, or I can have the screen on the side. This one here shows the key press history, which that one I do like. The key press is going to show you everything that I click. So if I want to go into my y equals, see it pops up there in the bottom right. So if you have someone following along, or say you have someone that has an aide in the classroom and the aide is trying to help the kids, it's going to give them step-by-step directions as to what they need to do, which is great. Okay, over here also, there's a hide show view. If I click that, I have these 3 graphs that pop up. If I hit refresh here, they pull from my calculator. So if I did have something in my y equals right here, it would pop up, the graph of how it would look, and the table would all pop up here. That may be helpful to you, it may not be. Me personally, if I was putting this on my screen all at once, it'd probably be a little too much for my kids. But that's okay. Every kid is different. It might be good if you want to put an equation in, so let's do that. Let's say I do 5x minus 1. And I hit graph. So you see the key press history here is in the bottom. My graph here is in the top. But if I refresh over here, everything I did pops up. So I have them all on one screen. Maybe that's helpful, maybe it's not. A lot of the teachers that I work with also like to do guided notes. So I want to show you how easy it is to do from this screen. So I'm going to pull my screen over here to the left. I'm going to open Word over here on the right and say I want to take this screen. If I click it and I drag it, it dumps right into Word. If I want this screen, I click it and I drag it, it dumps right into Word. So if you're making a test, a quiz, guided notes, however you're using it. If you want it to look exactly like the calculator and not a hand-drawn something, or, some people have the older calculator where you would plug it directly into your computer, use the overhead, something like that. I find this to be much more user-friendly. And it looks exactly like the kids' calculator, which is important. So that's a nice fun tip that not everybody knows. It's just a quick drag and drop, and you're good to go. Okay. Next, this is the TI-84 CE, so we do have color. So I want to do a quick graph, but I want to show you first something called inequalities. So I'm going to clear this out here. This way I have a fresh start. You see my key press history there on the bottom is clear. The stuff on the side here, I don't want that. It's a little too busy for me at the moment, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And that's this box here with the 3 boxes on the side. So I get rid of that. Now, inequalities is a preloaded app. I think it's preloaded, it may not be, but if not, I can show you where to get that in a second. You see this button here on the calculator that says Apps? If I click on that, my inequalities here is number 7. Number 7. You see the bottom here, it's following along. So if you have someone that works at a little bit slower pace, it's okay. They can look at the screen and see the buttons you hit and follow along so they can get to the same spot you are. Now, if I hit enter, I'm in my inequalities app. Now, as you notice, this looks very similar to the y equals, which it is, but it has an added function. Up here in the top left corner, I have my x equals option. So if I wanted to graph an x equals equation, I don't have that ability. Many people don't know this app exists, so I always like to highlight it. Say I want to graph just x equals 2. I hit graph. There's my line. Go back to the y equals. Now I'm going to erase that for a second because I want to do something different. The other nice feature that's in inequalities is if I want to graph inequalities. So here I am on the equal sign. If I back up, so the whole box is highlighted, and hit enter, I can now graph an inequality. I want to graph y is greater than. So see how it looks exactly like it does? Back in the older calculator, it didn't look like that. You just had the shading feature here that you had to try to figure out. So as a special ed kid, that's very difficult. If they are not good at visualizing in their head to pick which one was greater than or less than, now they have the actual symbol, so it looks exactly like their paper does. So let's say I want to graph 2x plus 1. All right, and so notice my key press history is still down here at the bottom, and I'm going to graph this in blue. I go down to the next one. I want to graph a less than. So notice the difference. Here's my greater than, here's my less than. It's easy to see because I have my symbols. I have negative x plus 4. If I hit graph, there's my 2 graphs. Now here it's fairly easy to see because the purple, or the red and the blue kind of make the color, is where they overlap. If I want to get just the point where they overlap, just that shaded region, there's a way to do that. If I hit second and then calc, and I want to go to inequality, and number 2, inequality intersection. If I click on that, it regraphs it and takes away anywhere that does not intersect and leaves just the point of intersection. So for a kid with special needs, that may be difficult for them to say, okay, well, this one shades here and this one shades there. Where do they overlap? Here, the calculator will do it for them. So if they want to check them themselves, or if there's just trying to understanding for the first time, There you go. It's a nice way to do it on technology, and it's very pretty with the color. If somebody does have the old-fashioned black and white calculator, I can toggle back to that. Okay. I still have an inequalities option right there. My key history, you'll notice reset because I went to a different emulator. Turn my inequalities on. It's still there, it's just not quite as user-friendly. You see they have the buttons here on the bottom. So I did greater than, right? So that's this one here. So that's my trace. Oops, hold on. I had to hit alpha first and then trace. Okay, so now I have this, and my graph was 2x plus 1. Now I have alpha less than. I have negative x plus 4. I want to graph it. I still graph it. It's in black and white. You can still see the point of intersection is here. And I want to go over shades. Oops. And I want number 1. So it still does the same thing. It's just not quite as pretty. But it's okay, because you can still get the same features, the same function. It still makes it easy for the kids to see it. So no matter which technology you have, it's still going to work the same way. All right. I want to show you where this would be on the website. If I go back here, and I want to go to downloads, and it would be under the 84 apps. Oh, sorry. Here, all software, OS, and apps. I'm working with the CE, so that's over here on the right. And if you click on this one, the OS and apps bundle, it should come in that. So you would just re-download this. You can push them out to the calculators if you're in person. If you're not in person and the kids have their own calculators, they can connect and do this themselves from their own computers. If you have the SmartView emulator on your computer already and it doesn't have this, you can update the SmartView. You just go to the same place where we started. You go to the downloads. You would just have to make sure you pick the emulator for distance learning. And it will automatically override, whatever's on the computer. So you have that. All right, Naomi, how are we doing? Any questions I need to go over?
Somebody asked about using it on a test. Do you press the test? What do you allow the students to do?
There's no press the test on the 84, correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, no. I do let my kids use the 84 on the test. You can clear the memory, which if you hit second mem. Oh, let me go back to the C. It's a little bit easier to see. All right, so if I go second mem, and you can reset it here, number 7. I don't want to reset it because I have some stuff on my calculator. But if I hit number 7 here, you would hit all RAM, and it would completely wipe out your calculator. And you can anything that you have done in the classroom that the kids may have saved, or if they take notes in their calculator, all of that would be gone. You would just hit enter on number 1, and it would erase everything. So that is what we do when we do standardized testing, because in our state, we are allowed to use the TI-84 on our state tests. I'm not positive if that's the case across the board, but we are allowed. So we erase the memory on every calculator before we hand it out. It's kind of hard to do in the virtual setting because you can't go to their computers, but you can. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do, right? So you have to do your best to try to figure out who's cheating and who's not. Now, I just took a snapshot here. This is what the emulator would look like on your screen if you did have the Chromebook. When your school gets the link, it's a hidden link, so I can't give you mine, but this is what it looks like. So it would be in the Chrome web store. I tried searching for it and I didn't see it pop up. I'm going to guess because it's beta. But if your school does sign up for it, they will get the link. And then it says the TI-84 plus CE app for the Chrome. See how it says not compatible here? That's because I'm not on a Chromebook. I have to be on a Chromebook. And this, it looks exactly, yeah.
Somebody's asking about an iPad. Do they have the emulator for the iPad?
Not the 84. The only emulator I know for the iPad is the Inspire. Okay, so here's the Chromebook app. Just like any other app. It's right there in the web store.
So Holly, Stacy, so when you were talking earlier about the teacher software being able to take like a snapshot of the emulator calculator screen and moving it to a Word doc, have
Right.
you played around with the Chrome extension? Do you know if that's doable for the students as well? Someone was asking that question, and I don't have a Chromebook, so.
Yeah, no, that is a good question. I have not tried that. In theory, it would probably work. What we did with our kids in the fall, we just had, in the spring, we just had them taking screenshots and sending it back that way. But I would think it would work because it's similar to the Smart View. But I have not tried that, no. Another extension that we use that's not TI is Cami. So you can write over any kind of a PDF doc and send it back that way too. So if you do have Chromebooks, that's another helpful thing that we used. But all of our kids, every single kid in the high school, well, I teach high school, every single kid from, I believe, 6th grade through 12th grade was given this app because it's free. We have it for a whole year. All right, so Naomi, I'm going to pass it to you.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen now. So what I'd like to go over today is a few of my favorite apps. These apps come preloaded in your 84s. If you have the older 84s, you can find downloads for the apps at the website where Holly was showing you where it says downloads. One of my favorite apps to use is the probability simulator, because I know we like to collect data, we like to flip coins and pull marbles out of bags, and that makes a big mess in the classroom. And since we're not in our classrooms, it's really nice that we have a way to do that virtually. So when you go into your calculator, if you press the app button, it'll bring up all these different applications. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll find the probability simulator app. And when you hit enter, these are the different types of simulations you can do. You can toss coins, roll dice, pick marbles, spin spinners, draw cards, or do random numbers. So the first thing I like to do, we're going to do some tossing dice, but we're going to do, it's going to ask us if we want to seed it. And I highly recommend that you seed it, because when you seed it, it makes it so that everybody gets different data. When you forget to do the seeding, all the kids start noticing that they're getting the exact same data when they're tossing their coins or doing anything else. You only have to seed it once to get different numbers. So after you've put in whatever number you like, the way you access these keys, these are the soft keys. So what you use is, on the 84, you're using the Y equals, the gray keys at the top. Those are the soft keys, and that is what you're using to access these different commands. So here we're going to go ahead, and what you want to do once you get into the program, so we're going to flip coins, you want to set it up. And as you can see, you can choose if you want to do 1 coin, 2 coins, 3 coins, how many flips you want to do at a time, and if you want to update it after how many. After you've decided what you want to do, you go ahead and use the soft key to go ahead and press OK. And as you can see, now I'm back to this screen. If I hit the toss button, it'll toss it 1 time. Then it brings up this choice right here where I can choose 1, 10, 50. So if I just hit the 50, it'll toss it and it'll emulate. And what the kids will actually see when you're doing it is the bar graphs will bounce up and down with the different number of frequencies. And you can just keep pressing 50, and as you can see, I've got 51, 101. And you can just keep pressing it, and you can see you approach a normal distribution. Then if you want to look at the data, if you press the soft key for data, it'll bring this up, and it'll show you what you have. Go ahead and press yes. And then you're saying it takes you back to the bar graph, but if you press the soft key for the table, it will then take you to the table. And if you notice in the table, you can scroll up and down and you can see what number of the toss was. Did you get a head or tail? Did you get 2 heads, 2 tails? And then it gives it a total. So for example, 2 shows you 2 heads, a 0 says no heads, and a 1 is that you had 1 head. Then if you hit the soft key for graph, it'll take you back to the bar graph. When you're done with using the coin cost simulator, if you just press escape, it'll take you over here and it'll tell you you're about to go back to the main menu, and it's going to clear out everything you have in there. So if you go ahead and press yes, it takes you right back to the main menu. Let's take a look real quickly at rolling dice. Again, if you go to roll dice, you don't need to see it again because you've already done that. You want to go into set, and you can see you can choose 1, 2, 3 dice. You can even choose different number-sided dice that you'd like to use. And you can set that all up, and then if you hit OK, it'll go back to this screen. You want to hit roll, and as you can see, roll it, and it'll show you what you got. And if you just keep hitting the 50, so I got 51 rolls here. If I want to look at what the data looks like, same thing. Go over here, want to look at the table, it'll show me what I rolled on which different roll I did. Then also what's available is you can do, you can look at pulling colored marbles out of a baggie. You can do a spinner. You can draw cards, and you can even do random number integers. Holly, are there any questions at this time?
It doesn't look like it, no.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at another one of my favorites. And I say these are preloaded in the calculators. So I highly recommend you go ahead and you play with them and see how they work. This is the Transformations app, and this is great for the power visualization, especially since we focus so much these days on the transformations of functions. So what I've done here is I've just basically made not quite screen captures. I was using a snipping tool so that you could see. I'm pressing the app button. This is what comes up, and you can see the key history down here at the bottom. A shortcut. Since the transformations is down at the bottom, if I hit the up button, it'll let me scroll around. It loops around. Once you hit that, you'll get
Naomi,
the screen. Yes.
Can you slow down a little bit? You're going a little too fast.
Oh, okay. So, back here, app button. If you hit up, it scrolls around so you can get to transformations instead of having to scroll all the way down. And then if you hit enter, it brings up this screen and it lets you know that you can do animations and you can set your different resolutions. It's telling you how to do that. And then it says to press the any key, which is just any key. So as you can see, I've included the keystrokes down here. Now you do that and all of a sudden you're back to the home screen and you're thinking, okay, where's the app? The key to this app is that you have to then press the Y equals button. And when you press the Y equal button, you'll see that you've got these two different special icons right here. You can only put in 2 transformations at a time. Now, if you want to really do some exploring, what you do is you enter the equation. I've got a quadratic here, and you enter the equation using the alpha. So to put in the A, it's alpha, and then the A is the green key, x squared, put in your thing, and then you want to look at it, so you go ahead and you press the graph button. Now, once you're in the graph button, you can see it has got the graph of the quadratic, and you've got your A, B, and C down at the bottom. You can use the arrow keys to adjust and change the different key, the different values. If you use the up key, you're adjusting. It goes. That's how you bounce between A, B, and C. If you use the arrow keys to the sides, that's how you bounce, change the numbers and the values. When you're done, you go ahead in here and you just press second, quit, to go back to the home screen. However, when you go to do more graphing, you might discover that when you go into Y equals, you're actually still running the program. So what you need to do is you need to open the app up again, and you need to get, so that you can get this screen right here, and you can tell it to quit the transformation app. Questions?
Is there specific grade level activities that match the ProbSim app?
Yes, if you go to the website, let me bring up the website real quickly. And if you go into activities and you go to the 84 Central, and I know if you go into the middle school lessons, if you go down into statistics and probabilities, you can see right here, roll the dice is an activity that's designed that goes with the app right there. And I'm sure there's a few others that are in there. I just truthfully haven't used any others, but I have tried the rolling the dice app, activity.
All right, there was one other question, Naomi. How did you change A, B, and C once on the graph?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up the app itself. As I said, you can use the up arrow to scroll up. And I'm going to go ahead and press any key. And we're going to go Y equals. So basically, if I want to put in the quadratic equation, is always the, you can also put in linear, you can put in any function you'd like. And then I'm going to hit graph. Okay, so now, if I use the up, down arrows, I bounce around between the A, B, and C. So if I want to make my A, I'm going to leave my A as 1, and you can see if I go to C, and then if I use the side arrows, you can see how, as I'm changing C, what's happening with the graph. Okay, and you can even go down to negatives, and then if I want to change the dilation.
Naomi, what sets the initial values of A, B, and C?
It just defaults to the ones. So it defaults to A being 1, B being 1, and C being 1. But you can go into setup, and it'll ask you, you can choose what you want it to start at. And you can also choose to put on a trail, and you can use this right here if you want it to become animated. The only reason why I'm not animating it now myself is because the last time I tried to do it, I hit a little glitch and I couldn't get it to stop animating. So I don't want to risk doing that right now. And if you also want to put in maybe a line, and you can go ahead and you can change the values so that you can see what the differences are. Notice all of a sudden it became a line because A became 0. And any other questions, Holly?
Nope.
Okay. I think that's all we had planned.
Can I go back on? Can you pass it back to me, Naomi?
Yes.
Okay, one of the questions that popped up was, how do you get out of the inequals app? I totally understand. I've been there. It's been stuck. To know if the app is still on, if you hit your Y equals screen, the little X equals here comes back to the top. To turn that off, if you hit the button that says apps.
Holly, are you sharing your screen?
Oh, no, hold on. Okay. If I look at my Y equals screen here, to know that I'm still in inequals, the X equals here is in the top left. That means the inequals app is still on. If I hit apps and go down to inequals, which is number 7, this pops up. And I do have to quit out of that. So I go to number 2 and I hit enter. To double check to make sure I'm out of it, I go back to the Y equals. My X equals here is gone. And when I go to the click on the left, like I did before to highlight the box, notice it only highlights just the colored part here with the line. And if I hit enter, I no longer have that third option to put the actual inequality in there. So this, I mean, I could still change this like I would back, on the last calculator to make the greater than, less than, solid line, dotted line, all that stuff is here. But just to make sure the inequals app is off, that's how I check. The other question that came up was the press to test. I did a quick Google because I saw Margot had said in the chat that you can do it. And this popped up. So this is, I literally Googled press to test TI-84, and this came up from Texas Instruments. There is a way to do it. I cannot do it on the emulator because you have to hold down these 2 arrow buttons. So if I look at my calculator, I have to hold down this button here and this button here. I can't do that at the same time with the mouse, but the directions are all there, and it will put it into test mode. So you see here, it says test mode, apps are disabled, programs are disabled. So they can only use, just the calculator functions. They could graph, all that stuff, but they can't open a program that they may have written or an app that you may have used in class that you don't want them to use. Because there are some very tricky apps on this calculator that you can do stuff without doing an ounce of mathematics, which you may not want them to do on the test. There's also directions here on how to turn off the press to test. So it can be done. I've never done it, but here are the directions. Just a quick Google search, you should be able to find it. So see, I did press to test on TI-84, and this one here that came up, the first one here, took me right to it. Okay.
Holly, someone'd like to know what the shortcut is for finding the intersection.
Oh. So let me turn it back on. So this was greater than, right? All right, so I had my greater than, I had my less than, I graphed it. To get it to show just the intersection, if I hit second, And then Calc, you can't really see it. It's in blue and little letters up there. It's the big trace button. If I hit that, I get this screen that pops up. If I hit intersect, that'll give me the exact point where the two lines intersect. You may want that. I can show you that if you'd like. If I hit intersect here, it says first curve, which is really just the first line. I just hit enter. Second curve, which is the second line. I hit enter. It tells you to guess. You don't really have to guess. Just hit enter. And it tells you where they intersect exactly. So the X is 1, the Y is 3. So that's one intersection you can do. If you want the shading intersection, I again hit second, calc, which is the trace. I arrow over to inequality, and I arrow down 1 to inequality intersection. And I hit enter. It grabs the first line, it grabs the second line, and it takes away anywhere they do not intersect and leaves me with this. Notice my key press history is getting a little bit clogged here. I probably would have, had I been doing this in my classroom, I would have cleared it out before I did that. So to clear, you just hit clear, and it asks you, are you sure you want to? Yes, I do. I hit clear, it's gone. If I don't want that there, I want a bigger screen, I click this button, and now my screen's bigger. How are we doing, Naomi?
Doing okay. Somebody asked, what's to stop a student from turning the apps back on with the press to test?
Well, I mean, I guess you would have to monitor them. I don't think there's a way, like, to put any kind of a password in it. It doesn't look like it. I mean, they could probably Google it and figure out how to do it themselves, but if you, like, in some of the classrooms we do collect cell phones. I don't know how that's going to change with the whole COVID situation, but they wouldn't be able to figure it out then, but I'm sure that's something they would learn how to do. I would say you'd have to walk around the room and just check, because you can see if it's in testing mode or not.
So it looks like on the bottom of that document, Holly,
yeah.
And I know you just found it, you're going to have to connect the calculator that's in press to test mode to another device that's not in press to test mode,
okay.
To send information to override to get it out of press to test. I know that works on the Inspires as well. So
okay.
that's probably a way that students aren't going to be able to get them out of press to test mode unless they were, you know, with a neighbor who understood how to do all of this.
Now, going virtual, there's no way to override that.
Correct. Going virtual, it's going to be difficult to monitor the actual calculators that the students have. You're correct on that. I don't know if you ladies are really familiar with the Chromebook app, but there was a question about that on the beta version of the Chromebook app, that actual apps of the 84 are not there. Do you know if they're going to be able to use the apps like you guys showed tonight on the Chromebook extension, or any downloadable activities? Again, I'm not sure if you guys are extremely familiar with those.
Do not own a Chromebook.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's still very preliminary. I imagine they're going to be working on it a lot this year, since there's, I mean, so many kids that are using it because they want to get it up and ready. This way, it's another product that they can market that kids can use in any kind of setting. I think it's just at the base right now. They just started with it. That's another thing with the apps. The apps that we used, where's my Smart View? The inequals that I have here, if I was to download that specifically for this calculator, the CE, it's not the same as the apps for the 84 Plus. You would have to download specific for each calculator. So I would imagine it'd be the same for the Smart View. I would think as updates come out, it's going to automatically update, because that's how our Chromebooks are set in my school. The TI part, or the tech department, they'll send out an update that pushes to all the Chromebooks. When the kids turn the Chromebook back on, they get all the new updates. I would imagine that's what's going to happen with the Smart View, with the Chromebook extension. I just don't think it's there yet because it's still so new. They rushed to get it out because everybody went virtual.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions just in general about how this is going to look in the fall. If we're virtual, you're hybrid, you're face-to-face. I know TI has put out some discussions on how to clean the calculators and handhelds. I think, this is different time for us all, and we're going to have to figure it out. Pretty much kind of like you said, as we go, and then when TI pushes out updates, if we're using things like the Chromebook extension or updates on our teacher software, all of those things are going to have to come out as we go. Yeah.
I would also encourage people that are interested in that to give feedback to TI that that's something they want, and they do share that with their product development, and they try to hit on things that people want. So if that's something you really need, I would put that in your feedback after the session.
Holly, real quickly, since you have your calculator open, can you show how to archive a program so that if a student's written a program or done some coding, that it doesn't get deleted when you clear out the RAM?
Let's see. I go to second mem, right?
Yes.
I haven't archived in a very long time, but number 5 is archive. And then
No.
No.
Okay, tell you what, I guess pass it back over to me.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so as you can see, I have some programs that are already in my calculator. This right here, this star tells me that this inverse chi-square program is archived. So if I want to, all I do is press second plus, and then you go to memory management. And then if you go down to program, which you can hit number 7, if I go down here to my chi-square x, if I now hit enter, you can see the star went away. So now, if I go back, you can see it's not archived. So if I don't want to lose this program when my teacher clears out my memory before I take a test, what you do is second plus to go to memory management, go to number 2, then you're going to scroll down to number 7, program, and all you do is go down to the program you want to save, hit enter to get the star, and now it'll be archived. Are there other questions, Holly?
No, not that I see.
Thank you, ladies. Very informative. Like I had mentioned earlier, a lot of us are just trying to figure out how to do this. Some of us have been teaching a while, or new teachers, and just trying to figure out virtual versus in person and what's going on with that. So I'm going to put the link to the certificate of attendance. You can, those of you that are joining us not live but recorded, there's the link for it. Also the documents, that's the link for the documents. At the conclusion of the webinar, you'll receive an email in a couple of days, and those in that email will have the link to the document as well as the recording of this webinar. That way you can go back, watch it. A lot of times when you are watching a webinar, if you don't have your handheld or trying to figure out on the handheld and going back and forth, having the recording does help a whole lot, especially if you're trying to figure out how to do this. I did want to share something with everyone real quick that we were discussing it about in the chat. We were discussing about how to clean the handhelds, and they said somebody mentioned last week in the WebEx to actually bring their own Ziploc bag to put their handheld in or calculator, how to clean, on the TI website. And so I went to the distance learning support And there is actually a link on how to properly clean your personal and or school-owned calculators that follow the CDC or WHO guidelines. That was a big deal for us in my school. Our math and science teachers are completely inspired, and we were trying to figure out how to do this. And so I'm glad TI put out how to do that. And so I was at the home page, just to kind of go back for it. And last year, this probably was the most used link. It was called the COVID resources, but now it's distance learning. And then anything that TI is putting out that they feel that we need as far as classroom teachers to figure out remote learning. This has the Inspire free trial. Holly showed this to us earlier. I just wanted to show it to you again. The TI-84 emulator. It talks about the Chromebook solution that Holly was mentioning, as well as, if needed, you can contact what's called an education technology consultant to help maybe get some calculators to borrow. And this is where I found how to disinfect the handhelds. And then, if you didn't know, TI has a YouTube channel, and in the spring, it was really helpful for going through content that possibly teachers couldn't teach, or students might have needed reinforcement, both for math and science. And someone did ask a question about workshops. And so this past summer, all the workshops through TI were virtual. So you can actually browse workshops and then see where future workshops are headed. But they're also, all of the webinars that are done on Tuesday nights like tonight are archived, and you can watch them. They're saved in an archive file that you can actually access on your own time. And then you can sign up for other webinars that are coming up for this next school year. And then Holly and Naomi mentioned about how TI listens. If you have questions, comments, maybe you have some suggestions for some things that would make the technology work a little bit better for you in your classroom, the TI-cares@ti.com, that is customer support, and they really do. They listen to what we have to say because we're the ones that are using it in the classroom. And then if you didn't know that there is a person in your area called an ETC, or an education technology consultant, that can actually help you get information for your classroom, maybe technology for your classroom, connect you with people like Holly and Naomi who are instructors in your area, so that way that maybe you can get some more support. If you are a social media person, TI is all over social media. It is at TI Calculator, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I know I follow lots of people who use technology in their classroom, and I really enjoy seeing what's happening in the classrooms. And like I mentioned, this YouTube channel is definitely helpful for watching some videos. If you need, and I mentioned this earlier, there is a 1-800 number as well as the TI-cares@ti.com. You will receive a survey at the end of the webinar, and if you have suggestions, comments about tonight's webinar, or if you would have some suggestions or for webinars for the future, that would be great as well. I had a great time tonight. I'm an Inspire user, and I always enjoy 84 webinars because that's the roots and foundation of how the Inspire got its start, and so I really enjoy learning more. Thank you both, Holly and Naomi, in sharing with us. Thank you all for attending, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Good night.